Not hillbillies, if you want to be friends, mountain people. And getting to know them isn't easy, especially now when things are stirring in the mountains of Tennessee. I found them enormously generous and hospitable, but very suspicious at first. Very suspicious indeed of strangers and cameras and things they weren't used to. And in fact, a Canadian filmmaker was shot around here a couple of years ago. So Mike Clark acted as our guide, a man deeply stirred by the poverty and isolation of his friends. I once asked him why he'd come back to help the mountain people when he could obviously have got himself a good job in town, and he replied, anger.
This is my house. It's used to be a coal camp here, but it's all deserted now. It's very quiet and peaceful around here. I was raised east of here in the high mountains. I went away to college for a few years. People came into these mountains 200 years ago, and they were Scotch and Irish and English. They were looking for freedom and independence. And in many ways they found it. It was a good life, a hard life, but a good one. About 60 years ago, big industry began to move in. The railroads, coal companies, the timber companies. Most of the mountains now are owned by big business, by the Rockefellers and the DuPonts and the Mellons, and by the federal government. And the people don't have much at all. We in many places don't own much land. Take Sammy Branham, for example. He's a small farmer. He owns about 20 acres, and he works very hard, but he's just barely able to get by. There are 10 million people scattered through the hills and the valleys of Appalachia, an area roughly the size of Britain. And these mountains contain the largest concentration of poor whites in this country. Delmer Branham is another one. He's a sharecropper. He doesn't own any land at all. He raises corn and tobacco.
Well, I wouldn't say it would get any better, but I don't see how it could get any worse.
Low income is not what we are. We're poor people. I think low income is people that maybe has a way of just getting by, but poor people is the ones that don't know where the next dollar's coming from.
I feel like that I'm just about as low as anybody in this county or any other county. I don't have a home, and also I've got a large-sized family, and I don't have no job, and I don't have no income other than maybe a little tobacco crop or something. I'd say approximately, well, all the way total, say what I call take-home pay, $800 a year.
This is a friend of mine who lives nearby, David Davis. He also rents his land. Although he looks very mild, he's a pretty tough man. He's the kind of man you want on your side in a fight.
That I were talking to a man that would be called a middle-income man. He had a farm. He had his own house. He had a school bus that he was driving for the county. And I was working trying to help some poor people. And he told me that He said, you can't help them people. And I said, why can't you help them? He said, they won't help themselves. He said, they won't work. I said, how do you know that these people won't work? He said, because I can't get them to work for me. And I said, how much are you offering to pay these poor people? He said, $4 a day. And I said, $4 a day from sunup till sundown on the farm? He said, yes, that's right. I said, hell, that's slave labor. No wonder nobody won't work for you.
If I had no horse to ride, I'd be kind of crawling up and down this rocky road, a-looking for my darling. Swing and turn, Jubilee, live and learn, Jubilee. If I had a needle and thread, fine as I could sew, my true love to my side, and down this road I'd go. Swing and turn, Jubilee, live and learn, Jubilee. The higher up
I've
the
got
cherry
some bad
tree,
clothesline
right
that I fixed them
cherries,
myself.
more you'll
Hang their
have
clothes
to
down.
tell, the quicker she will marry.
That's Gladys, Delmer's wife.
Jubilee, live and
She's
learn,
got 12 kids to
Jubilee.
feed on $2 or $3 a day.
Some folks come on a Saturday night, some folks come on Sunday. If you give 'em half a chance, they'll be back on Monday. Swing and
What about your family, Gladys?
Jubilee,
What are their
live
names?
and learn, Jubilee.
You really want to know?
Yeah, come on now. Yeah, tell me.
Isabel, Phyllis, Malcolm, Bobby, Sharon, David, Cynthia, Darlene, Laura, Georgia, and Jimmy, and Donald.
Swing and turn, Jubilee, live and learn, Jubilee.
You have to teach him how to wash when you get hooked up with him.
I'm not hooking up with him.
That's like John took her thing.
Oh, John, please. I got her up this morning, kind of early, though. I called her 2 times, and the second time I called her, here she went back with the covers, pretending she was just out of the bed, and I go back to the kitchen and finish breakfast.
How many hours a week do you think you put in on that, over that machine?
Well, let me figure just a little.
Unbelievable.
I'd say 28 to 30 hours a week. Believe it or not. And not too much time over the ironing board, though, because a lot of things, if I bring them in,
Were your kids born in a hospital or were they born at home?
had 5 born at home and 7 in the hospital.
What did it cost?
$35 each for the ones in the home, except one. And it was one evening, just about supper time, I told Delmer he better go get the doctor. So he goes into town after the doctor, and the doctor hadn't eaten supper, and he said, will I have time to eat supper? And Delmer said, oh, yes, go ahead. You got plenty of time. And while he's waiting for him, then Malcolm was born, and here he come in 30 minutes later and got everything fixed up, and he only charged $25 that time. He knocked off 10.
I guess you could say that we are a violent people, that we've always tried to solve our problems with a gun and a knife.
Finally, they got him in court. And they swore a false statement again on him, swore a lie against him to try to convict him. So he beat the case, and he had a sister that was there in court with him, and she had a .45 automatic in her purse. And when the trial was over, the policemen was not the first ones to come out of the courthouse. So him and his sister walked out on the courthouse lawn, a few steps away from the door. And when he taken his sister's purse, and when the two policemen walked out of the door onto the steps, he shot down both of them right on the steps.
You remember we passed through a little community several days ago called Davidson. Well, that, in 1932, was the scene of a very vicious coal strike. And my neighbors who were involved in the strike tell about a man named Barney Graham. The strike was on, and Barney was one of the leaders. And the company brought in 2 gun thugs to kill Barney, and everyone knew it. One Sunday morning, Barney was on the way to get a doctor. His wife was sick. And they caught him in Main Street and shot him down. He always carried a pistol, and he tried to use the pistol, but one of the bullets had hit him in his arm, and he couldn't use the pistol. So he told them, I guess you've got me, boys. And they pistol whipped him and killed him on the main street.
And they were gambling in this nightclub, and his brother got in a fight with a man, and they got down on the floor fighting. And Roscoe thought this guy was going to kill his brother. I think maybe the guy had got a knife out of his pocket. And he shot this man on top of his brother with a .45 automatic, and it went through the guy and hit his brother and killed him, killed both of them.
So that's the kind of climate we have in the mountains. Whether or not our problems here of poverty and jobs and individual rights can be solved without violence, I don't know. David Davis and I think they probably can't, but most people here wouldn't agree with us.
That we felt like if we all got together and stayed together, we could accomplish these things, that the poor people could, make a way for themselves and not have to look to the higher income for a way of living.
If you can get enough of these low-income people, poor people, together, you can get just about anything you want done. People's going to have to wake up.
When a group of people, a number of people, sticks together, you can't do nothing with them.
There are all kinds of schemes in this country for eliminating poverty, and the federal government spends billions of dollars every year. But most of it goes into the pockets of the bureaucrats and the local politicians. Very little of that money ever gets down here to the poor people.
No, just once a year they come around and promise, or every 2 years when they're elected, they come around and promise these things, but when they get in office, they never do anything about it. Same thing over again.
How about these government programs?
Well, they never do get to the poor man. That's my judgment. It all winds up in the big man's hands, about 90% of it, and the little man gets about 10.
I never seen them miss it except at election time. There was few of them come around.
You think they care about what happens to people around here?
Well, no, they really don't care what happens to the people, but they're really upset that people are getting together and trying to do for themselves instead of running to them for everything.
C. Oh, B. B. C. No, it's C, all right. That's right. A. F. C. C. No. D. Q. Q. You know that, don't you? R. R. Ready? A. Oh, it's A. Oh. It's S. S. Y. That's your last name. Y. Came to it. What is that now? Seven. Can't say it, can you?
A lot of people in the mountains can't read and write. The teachers won't work with them. The teachers are willing to work with the rich kids, or the kids they think have got potential, or the ones they think that's going to college. But not the poor kids, not the kids that don't have anyone to push them along or to help them.
You slipped up on it that time. Now just pull that right there. And pull this end through. Pull it down like that now. Now you need to pull it just a little tighter. You pull on this string and place that over there. That's the one that tightens it back in this too. That done very well. That'll stay, I guess. Sometimes it takes a little more time for some fellas than it does others to learn. While you're young, it's time to learn. Because when you get old, well, you'll get busy at something else and you won't have the time to learn. But now, when you get about 15 years old, you need to be scratching out of that lesson.
Many of the mountain schools are really horrible. A lot of the kids can't read and write. Over half the kids who start school don't finish. In this county, there's a special room for slow or backward children, which the teachers call the nutty room. And there have been all kinds of scandals throughout the mountains where funds for children's hot lunches or for the school programs have been diverted into politicians' pockets. Recently, some of the people here got together and agreed that they wanted to raise some money to help in the community. So the men thought they would make rocking chairs for sale, and the women would sew handmade quilts. This looks like a small beginning or a small thing, but for the mountains, it's awfully important. Because the people decided that no big shot or no federal government is really going to help them. If anything's done, they'll have to do it themselves. And they're going to stand up and defend their rights.
I feel that The white people has learnt more in the past few years from the colored people than they ever learnt in the past 200 or 300 years. That the black people has proven to the world that a man has to fight for his freedom. A lot of people don't believe in violence. I don't believe in violence unless it's necessary. The government, they say they don't believe in violence, but if necessary, they'll declare a war against another country. So that's the same thing, that they're fighting for the freedom of the country. So the poor man is going to have to fight for his freedom.
1970 model Chevrolet at J&J Chevrolet Company in Gainsborough now.
I want to say to you people everywhere, you ought to see that crowd when we say we believe in cleanliness and decency and law and order, and we support the police. And folks, we support the Pentagon, you know. It's a strange thing when you say you're in favor of a strong military stance. I want it on the record, and I want everybody to know that this fundamental preacher, understanding what the Bible says about evil and how it moves in on aggression, I'm in favor of our having the strongest military establishment that the world knows anything about. And last night, ladies and gentlemen, out there in western Pennsylvania, Franklin, out in the cow field, the Cannon Farm, and we had a great time last night. And I think one of the most thrilling moments was while I was speaking, ladies and gentlemen, 5 deer came out of the woods and stood back there, and they wiggled their ears, and they bowed their heads, they said amen to victory, and they went back.
The question I keep asking is, do we have enough time? I think people all over the country are talking about chaos and an end to the American way of life. I don't know. I just don't know.